You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
So I got a new baseball cap that says I'd rather be ghost hunting on it. And I wear it all the time when I go outside to protect my face from the sun, speaking of sun safety. But I realized that a lot of people then read my hat. And I'm like, why are they looking at me? Because I went to Jersey Mike's today, and everyone working behind the counter, they all just like kept, I'd already put it in my order, but they all like kept looking up at me, looking at my face. I'm like, did they not hear me? Like, what's happening?
Right.
I'm like, oh, they're probably all reading my weird hat. So that's the price you pay, I guess, if you want to have like an ironic piece of clothing.
I love that, though. Although I do feel like I'm always thinking people are looking at me anyway, which is like part of my own issues. So I feel like if I added like a funny piece of clothing into it, I would be even more paranoid. I probably couldn't relax. You know, I've never been relaxed ever a day in my life. So,
well, I like the hat and mask combination because I feel really like undercover. You know, if I ran into someone I knew, not like embarrassingly a couple of years ago, I was at Five Guys eating there by myself because it's too far to bring it back to my house, and then some guy that we work with came in with like his whole family.
And I was like, telling me that.
Embarrassing, but you know, these days, no one would know.
No one know. You know, that's what the K-pop and the K-drama actors do. They have the hats and the mask like up to just under their eyes so you can't tell who they are. Smart stuff. I feel like celebs here need to start doing that. Well,
they probably are having a field day now because they can do that without people like being suspicious, like at airports and the grocery store.
Exactly.
What a day. Congrats to all our celebs out there.
Congrats. I was thinking, will I ever take my mask off? And I mean, like, yes, the answer is yes, obviously I will. But will I use it as a power move from now on? It's on the table. And I mean that in, like, I will only take it off for certain people, you know? Like, I just won't show my face in front of casuals, you know, the acquaintances at work. You have to earn my face.
You want to see her nose and mouth?
Okay, that's $5 on my Patreon, which I'm launching.
Well, I just feel like I didn't realize how much people were breathing on me before, like strangers at CVS and stuff. And I don't know if I'll ever
train, Grace, the train.
Dude, the train, we are packed in there like sardines. We're just like, I breathe out and someone breathes in my breath anyway.
Like, we don't need to be like, you know, what's the... mouth to mouthing each other on the train anymore. That's just my 2 cents.
Giving each other CPR. Agreed. Once I know, now that I'm aware of that more than ever, I can never unknow that. You know what I mean? So for me, master here to say.
I've been watching a lot of YouTubes, which is fine. But like when you're watching people's vlogs and it's like pre-quarantine times and they're just like living their life doing things pre-quarantine. And I'm like, you just sneezed in public without a mask. You need to wash your hands. Or like, it's just like you watch TV now, even like drama television shows, and they're just like out and about doing their things and like living their life. And I'm like, you need to wash your hands as soon as you get home because you touched the park bench and X, Y, and Z. It's just like, I don't know. Are you just going to trust the outside world all of a sudden? Am I agoraphobe now? Who knows? TBD.
Could be. Well, let us know if you're an agoraphobe. And if you're tuning in, this is the Good Evening Girls. We are the Good Evening Girls. This is Two Girls, One Crossword, your favorite weekly Podword Crosscast. I'm Grace Topinka.
And I'm Chelsea Rowan. We love having you here with us, talking about ironic hats, sun protection, always wear your sunscreen, and mask etiquette. So that's us.
The big three.
The big three, baby. It's like a home run? No, a home run is one run. A grand slam is 4 runs.
There you go, Miss Athletic over there. Miss Sports knowledge.
I love my sports. I love the baseballing.
Sometimes doing crosswords, I randomly will get a sports trivia just that I've learned, like randomly or picking up, and I'm like, wow, I'm really smart about sports now.
Right, I'm like, test me. I know golf. I know what the word par means now.
Look at us. Well, speaking of trivia and topics, I think we should go into our Polapalooza from last week's topic.
Let's do it.
So we asked our Twitter followers, oh no, you've been captured for a flea circus. Which performance do you join? Tightrope walking, Ferris wheel spinning, chariot pulling, or hoop jumping?
This was a great question.
And it was a tie for first and second. With
tie.
tightrope walking, or tie for first place, I guess, tightrope walking and Ferris wheel spinning. Coming in second was hoop jumping with 26%. And then with just a mere 8% in last place, chariot pulling.
Okay. I do want to let everybody know that if you are in fact captured to be in a flea circus, pulling a chariot is the same like hookup as turning a Ferris wheel. You will be forced to pull something. That's just how the mechanisms work. But we had a good comment. Someone said something about being glued down forever and not wanting that. At least if you're on a tightrope, you can like walk back and forth.
Yes, Book Addict responded and said, Ferris wheel spinning, glued down forever? No way. Let me walk the tightrope. At least I'm free to walk.
See, I am here
Smart.
for that one. I think I would pick tightrope walking as well. Except if the tightrope walking has like heat torture involved, because there is some of that in some flea circuses where they'll like heat you up to like get you to move in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So I am not bouncing on your tightrope if you're forcing me to with heat. So take note.
I believe I picked hoop jumping because I feel like fleas really like jumping.
Mm-hmm. We did learn that last week.
So I think that that's at least, you know, something more natural and fun.
You're right.
Definitely would not want to play in the orchestra, though. That's for damn sure.
Learn more about the orchestra last week. Please tune in. It's kind of a wild ride. Thanks for participating in the poll. I think that was a good one. If you're interested in participating in our fun polls brought to us by the talented, creative Grace Topinka, please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is The Good Eve Girls. It's we have a lot of laughs over there. Lots of thought-provoking questions, clearly.
Every week, come answer some inane question that I ask.
Come on by. Speaking of inane questions and polls, last week, or the last poll you ran was like, which soap opera trope are you, essentially? And we were kind of joking about like, what is the most killed off soap opera character that was then reintroduced, like re-brought back to life. And of course, I've got no chill, so I had to look it up to see if this answer existed somewhere. And it does exist. I do have to say that most of the articles that I found, well, all of them, they did not give me a statistical, like a number. They didn't give me a number, which drives me bonkers because I know this information exists somewhere and someone's got a spreadsheet, but they're not providing the details. I did, however, find an article on fame10.com titled 6 Soap Characters Who Have Died the Most Times by Dorothy Gass. And it seems like through my very, very brief research that Days of Our Lives is the most notorious soap for killing off and reviving characters. Okay? And along that lines, it seems that the character Stefano de Mira of Days of Our Lives has died and returned the most in all of soap operas. Again, they did not give me a number. But here's a quote from Dorothy Gass. Quote, Stefano de Miro could be considered a zombie by any standards because he simply cannot die. Stefano has come back from the dead countless times, and at this point, when he does exit the show due to death, fans expect nothing less than Stefano returning to wreak havoc on the Bradys, Hortons, and Blacks. He's died of a stroke, car crashes and explosions, a drowning, getting shot by Marlena, a plane explosions, and many other death-defying adventures. Credit his genius mind or perhaps his health. Alas, no matter how many times fans may think Stefano is dead, he always comes back to surprise us.
I love that for him.
Me too. It seems like he's got a very steady job, which I am here for.
Yeah, be a Stefano or Stefano.
Stefano, good for you.
And keep coming back. Don't let them keep you down, okay?
Don't let the bed bugs bite, which bed bugs aren't fleas, but they might as well be in my book.
I got bit by fleas in a bed. Shout out to my dog. And my mom not giving her flea medication, but it's fine. It's all taken care of.
It's all behind us. It's in the past.
That's actually a saying, you know, if you lay with dogs, now I'm gonna screw it up. It's like you lay with dogs, you get fleas or something. And I literally
feel like it probably rhymes. Thine layeth with a doggeth, thou wilt getteth a flea.
Mm-hmm.
Comes from
they're
the
really
Bible.
Itchy.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got. Days of Our Lives. What do you have in terms of hits and shits?
Well, let's see. Let's jump right into it here. I feel like, I don't know. I felt weird about the crosswords this week. I told you I had a hard time picking a topic. Nothing really stepped out at me, but I really was hoping that this answer, when I saw it filled in, I was hoping it would have a better clue from the Wednesday, May 19th, New York Times by Ashish Vengsakar. 20 across. The answer was BBL. So I thought it was going to be Brazilian butt lift.
Yes.
But it was OPEC unit abbreviation. It's like, ugh,
okay, boring. Who even cares?
better.
No, I'm just kidding. But BBLs are big right now. Okay, we get lots. I get a lot of BBL things on my TikTok where you got women or whoever laying on their stomach for months because they can't, do anything with the hindquarters for ages.
I mean, do what you got to do, but the recovery sounds complicated. I mean, you don't realize how much you have to sit until you get that.
The thing is like, I think about the next time I could sit all the time. I love sitting. I don't have a problem with sitting. And so a BBL seems it is entirely off the menu for me because it will eat into that comfort that I find from sitting.
Yeah.
So there we go. I feel like I liked the puzzles this week, or I guess I just did a lot of puzzles this week, so I felt accomplished because I did a lot of puzzles. I'll start with the Friday, May 14th, New York Times by Jakob Jonas. I really liked this one because I just like funny word things, like when you learn about words. 14 across, snacks known as student fodder and Scrogen in Germany and New Zealand, respectively. And the answer was trail mixes.
Oh, interesting.
Very much so. So student fodder and Scrogen. Okay, so there's that. Also 35 across, leftovers from a donut, say. And the answer was tire marks.
Nice.
Like doing donuts in a car. Love that.
Think about it for a hot sec.
22 down, begin the toasting process. The answer was raise a glass. Very nice. And then also, I just thought this was an interesting fact. 39 down, U.S. city that's home to the largest Basque population outside of Spain. The answer was Boise. I'm like, why the hell are you going to Boise? It's fucking weird.
Actually, I've heard Boise's kind of cool. I don't know if it's because of the Basques, but it's kind of like, I think has like a... Sorry, there's someone like banging stuff around my hallway. It has kind of like a Portland, Austin vibe.
Are we going to Boise?
I don't know.
We should.
There's like one person an influencer that I follow who lives in Boise.
If you hear my dog barking, it's because he's sitting on the couch behind me. Oh, there he is. And someone has decided to enter our apartment building. So you can't take him anywhere. I want to round off talking about Boise, though, with another fun fact about Boise. I might have mentioned this previously in a different episode, but either way, every time I hear the word Boise or see the word Boise, I'm reminded of Desperate Housewives and the character, the redhead woman, I forgot her name.
Felicity Huffman? Is that her?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm bad with that kind of stuff. But I remember she wanted to start getting into like BDSM. And her husband's safe word was Boise. So if you're looking for a safe word, it's actually a very, just like a random word. Sounds good. Kind of cut straight through the mood. Would recommend
Would it come up
Boise.
In regular conversation?
Unless you're
often?
Basque. If you're...
Or you live in Idaho, then.
Yeah, so. Well, that's what I got to say about Boise. What else you got for me?
Though we live in Illinois, and I feel like I never talk about Springfield.
It's true.
Well, I liked The New Yorker by Anna Shechtman on May 14th. 60 across, enthusiasm for all things British. Anglomania. I didn't know that existed. And that is us, kind of, if that encapsulates obsession with British accents. I'm moving to London and I will pick up a British accent, guaranteed.
She's moving to London tomorrow.
I did a couple New Yorkers. I liked the Cameron Austin Collins for May 17th, 28 down. Pine for North Carolina, say. I was like, what is this about? Is this a song? But it was State Tree.
I liked that puzzle too. I feel like we did that one together.
Yes, we did.
Digitally. You can do it like partner mode. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
What were some other good ones from that puzzle? Oh, 16 across. They offset gut reactions. The answer was antacids.
Yeah, but it was
That's
like
good.
gut reaction. Or, well, maybe it's because I already knew the answer. Gut reactions instead of... Sorry, never mind. You put a weird emphasis on it that made antacids, like, made it seem like it was really more about the stomach than, like, a gut reaction to something.
And then along that similar line, in that similar vein, 18 down, it's designed to get a reaction out of you. And the answer was allergy test.
Yes. Love that.
One I really wanted to shout out from that puzzle specifically. If you all, if you're into crosswords, or if you're not, because you listen to our podcast, you might hear us talk about crosswordese. There are certain word or letter combinations that just have to kind of make it into grids. And, Oreo is one of them. Epee, which is that fencing sword, for instance. They just kind of make their way into grids because you need them to fill in the spaces, right? And it's always a challenge of how are you going to clue this in a creative way that isn't how it's always clued, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. There was an incredible recluing of crosswordese in Cameron Austin Collins' New Yorker puzzle that I wanted to shout out. And I just want people to think more critically about this specific crosswordese in general, because I'm so over seeing it clued as like some like secret organization or government organization. 8 down. Looking for something casual in hookup app slang. And the answer was NSA, which stands for no strings attached. But you always see it clued as like the NSA, the ones that are like listening to us, we got like an NSA agent assigned to us or whatever. So I just thought that was a really nice recluing of your typical crosswordese. So very good. Very good.
New Yorker, Elizabeth Gorski on May 19th, 44 down, one who might create a toxic work environment in slang. I was like, what is this? A-hole.
That's a good one. The Saturday, May 15th New York Times by Sam Trabico. One across, event with kings and queens. The answer was drag show.
Oh, better.
Very nice. I also like 29 across, worked in Starbucks' business. And the answer was whaled. Because Starbuck is a character in Moby Dick, which is where we get the name Starbucks, the coffee shop.
And the Starbucks logo is is a mermaid with two tails.
I think it's a siren, technically.
Oh. Well, we can fight about it later.
Or maybe it is a mermaid. Someone schedule our death match and we'll fight. And we'll
Celebrity death match, the claymation kind.
Oh, yes. And then one last shout out from that Sam puzzle, the 38 across, apocalyptic event in Norse mythology, and the answer was Ragnarok, and it really just made me want to replay God of War.
Yeah.
So, am I going to buy it? Did you just finish it?
No, I finished Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh, yes. I need to play Spider-Man, actually. You lent it to me, and I still need to play it.
The Miles Morales one was really good. Lots of good music, and there was a character in it who speaks sign language.
Oh, amazing. That's exciting.
I feel like I haven't seen that in video games before, so that was cool to see.
You have anything else?
That's all I got for you.
Should we move into the coin flip?
Do it. I dare you.
You don't gotta dare me. I got it ready. Okay? I'm flipping.
Just got it locked and loaded.
I'm loaded here. I'm flipping the coin now. Heads.
It's you.
It's me. Oh my gosh. You guys ready for this?
All right, I'll put my notes away.
She's putting
Sit
them
back
away.
and relax.
My topic comes from the Friday, May 14th New York Times by Jakob Jonas. 26 down, Oktoberfest locale, and the answer was beer garden. So, I'm talking about Oktoberfest today.
Exciting.
which is kind of relevant to my last topic because one of the most famous flea circuses in the world that still happens at Oktoberfest in Germany.
I was going to say, you mentioned Oktoberfest last week.
I did. And in case you're wondering, yes, I am drinking a beer. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube. This is not the kind of beer you would get at Oktoberfest, though. But it is the kind of beer that you would get at my apartment if you came to hang out with me. Invite only. Do not show up at my apartment. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to kick off with the very basics of what Oktoberfest is, in case you are a casual and you have no idea, you've never heard of Oktoberfest, you live under a rock, etc. Okay? Oktoberfest is the largest Volksfest in the world. A Volksfest is German for People's Festival. It's a combination of beer and wine festivals and traveling amusement fairs. There's all sorts of attractions like rides, games, foods, and various vendors. The official Oktoberfest takes place in Munich, Bavaria, Germany, annually between mid to late September to the first Sunday in October, and the festival lasts between 16 and 18 days depending on the year. More than 6 million people attend the event every year, traveling to Germany from all over the world. 6 million people. Just for context, this population of Chicago is 3 million.
Damn.
So imagine taking Chicago, timing it by 2, getting everybody on a plane and flying to Bavaria to drink beer. Wild. Anyway, it's a lot of people.
How do you even have that much lodging available, you know?
I don't have the number, but Oktoberfest obviously is hugely stimulating to the German tourism industry.
Yeah, but just space-wise, they're able to host that many visitors.
Right.
Like hotels, Airbnbs, hostels.
That's an incredible thing to wonder. I think there's got to be camping, hotels, Airbnbs, all those
You're
kinds
right,
of
there
things.
probably is camping, the festivals they have. I don't know, but someone let us know
if you've been. I feel like this is something I want to do at some point in my life, especially now that I've read more about it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds
It's
like
on my
a hell of a lot of
list.
fun. Why not? Because we'll find out later why. There's cool things that happen at Oktoberfest. Well, I mean, whatever. It's a beer festival. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the history, okay? Why do we celebrate Oktoberfest every year? Where did it all begin? Blah, blah, blah. I got my information from literally all over the place. Mostly from history.com, Oktoberfest.net, Oktoberfest.de, and the City of Munich's official website. It all started when the Crown Prince Ludwig of Bavaria married Princess Therese of Saxe-Hildburghausen on October 12th, 1810. Sorry if I mess up any of the German, because I know that I will. These words are bananas, okay? They're bananas. Anyway, so yeah. They get married on October 12th, 1810. Side note, these two may or may not be related to a famous couple we've already discussed way, way back on the very first episode, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, but these damn family trees, in Europe, especially when you get the Germans and the Brits all mixed in together, it's so dense that I couldn't figure out if they were cousins or something, because it was all happening around the same time period. But I am pretty sure they are related in some way, but I don't know. Anyway, back to the original Oktoberfest. Ludwig and Therese, they get married, and in order to celebrate, the newlyweds host a huge festival. They invite all the citizens of Munich to celebrate the event. There's free food and drink served throughout the city. The actual festival itself took place in the fields in front of Munich city gates. The fields were named Theresienwiesen in honor of the new crown princess, and they actually stands for Therese's meadow, so they named it after the crown princess. Very nice. They still call it that to this day, although if you're a local, you probably call the fields the Wiesen. So that's a little tip for you if you want to blend in with the locals. Say I'm heading down to Wiesen instead of Theresienwiesen, okay?
Yeah, they'll be wow, you speak German with no accent at all.
And you're I know, I'm
you must be a local.
Exactly. One of the most important events that actually happened at the first Oktoberfest, though at the time it was not called Oktoberfest, was the closing ceremony. And at the closing ceremony, there was a horse race. Either a man named Andreas Michael del Army who was a major in the National Guard, or a man named Franz Baumgartner, who was a coachman and sergeant in the National Guard, suggested the horse racing, though nobody can pinpoint for sure whose idea it actually was. The festival was such a success that they held it again the following year, even though there was no wedding to celebrate. They kept the popular horse racing and added a new attraction, the first agricultural show, which was designed to boost the Bavarian agricultural industry. The agricultural show was called, here we go, Landwirtschaftlicher Verein in Baren, aka Bavarian Agricultural Association. And it was a way for local growers to showcase their wares to the public. Very good.
Wholesome.
Wholesome. I love that for them. Sadly, in 1813, the newly established festival had to cancel for the first time due to the Napoleonic Wars, and it has been canceled more than 24 times throughout its 200-plus year history for various reasons. A lot of shit was happening in Europe between the 18th, 19th, and 20th century, okay?
To put it lightly.
Yes, to put it extremely lightly. So after the Napoleonic Wars in 1819, both private financiers and the Munich city officials decided that hosting the festival annually would be a top priority, as it was sure to draw a crowd and earn people lots of money. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're like, we got to make money off of this. You don't want to lose money on this. This was actually when we first start introducing different types of amusements, because up until this point, it was food, beer, horse racing, and plants. Okay?
Hey, that sounds like a good time to me.
Actually, I would do that now. Cool. But now they're adding, different amusements like carousels and swings. And then, oh, what?
Wait, the big swings?
I think just literally a swing.
Oh, they're hard up for entertainment.
They were. We had to wait a couple more years for more entertaining things. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's fast forward to 1850. The famous statue of Bavaria was unveiled at the 1850 Oktoberfest. The statue of Bavaria was commissioned by King Ludwig I in 1833. A contest decided what the statue would look like. It is the female personification of the Bavarian homeland. She's wearing a long draped dress covered in a bearskin. She's got a crown of oak leaves, and she's holding a wreath of oak leaves in her left hand. At her right-hand side is a lion. It is 60 feet and 9 inches tall. It weighs approximately 87.36 tons and stands on a stone base that is 28 feet high. So this thing is massive, okay? Mm-hmm. There's an internal circular staircase that leads to a platform in her head where you can overlook the Theresienwiese and downtown Munich. So you can climb to the top and overlook the festival. I actually don't know if you can climb up to it, but if you are allowed to, that's what you could do. Mm-hmm. Cool. In 1860, the festival decided to stop hosting the agricultural show every year. What the hell? And they moved it to showcasing it every 4 years. So,
wow, you really just forget where you came from, I guess.
You really do. It takes less than 100 years for you to forget who you are and your roots, and you care not about plants. Whatever.
The farmers are oh, okay, I guess we'll just come back in 4 years then. And they they shed a single tear as they pack up their wares.
Take your wares back to your farm, peasant. So that's exactly what happened. I was there. So then in 1870, Grace, this is what you were waiting for. The festival became closer to a fun fair with varying amusements and rides increasing dramatically. I could not find what they meant by that, but I think they're probably adding more carousels and more of spinny swings and things like that.
A big slide? In 1870 or whatever.
They better have had a massive slide. They better have.
That thing would be a death trap in the 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they didn't put the little bumps to slow you down on the way down. It's just
for sure. Are you kidding? And they definitely, the swings too. They probably got kids flying all over the damn place. Anyway. In 1887, the opening ceremony was standardized as a parade, and it was called the Weisen der Festwirt und Brauereien. Basically, my German is perfect. So, this parade is the prelude to the festival and its opening ceremony. It begins with the mayor of Munich at the Schottenhamel tent performing what is called the Ozapf Ease. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce these words. I should have looked them up, but whatever.
We're
it's
losing
German.
all of our German listeners.
We are. Anyway, so he performs this thing called the Otzapf-Ease, which is the ceremonial opening of the first cask of beer. To open the cask of beer, the mayor must smash it with a hammer. In 1950, Mayor Thomas Wimmer managed to open the cask after 19 blows, which is the worst record of all time. The best record is from Mayor Oud in 2013 with only 2 blows. And you literally have to bang it with it's kind of like LaGuardia beating up the pinball machines. It's like a huge mallet they come at this cask with. So as soon as the cask is broken, news spreads quickly, and 12 firecrackers are set off at the Statue of Bavaria to announce that the beer has been served and that the festivities may begin. There is then a parade to Theresienwiesen, where families march with decorated carriages drawn by horses and oxen carrying kegs, followed by musicians. The leader of the parade is known as the Münchnerkindl, which is a symbolic doll of the city of Munich. And the parade overall takes about an hour. And so, yeah, you open the cask, you go on your parade, and you drink lots of beer.
Mm-hmm.
In 1896, the traditional beer stands were replaced with beer tents and beer halls. These halls all have different names and themes, and you can expect to see varying costumes worn by the servers. I previously mentioned the Schottenhamel tent. That is where the mayor opens the first cask of beer. The Schottenhamel tent has 9,000 seats and was built in 1867. Although in 1867, it was just like a wooden shack. It is now a huge hall with 9,000 seats, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Inside is decorated like a farmhouse, and the beer they serve in the hall is called Spaten. Another famous beer hall is called, oh God, this one is going to trip me up here. It's called the Braueralsel. I am so sorry. Which it was built in 1913. It has 8,400 seats. And it had actually been managed by the same family, the Haida family, for 7 generations. But they actually gave up the tent in 2020. They were like, we're retiring.
Wow.
You can't trust the Haida family. I'm just kidding. They did a really good job for 7 generations. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever. Just like, the agricultural fest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. Huge tents. I mean, I know that Oktoberfest is big. I know in my heart of heart. I've seen the tents, I've seen videos, but to hear that 2 of the large tents seat 9,000 people and 8,400 people respectively is crazy. And there are 14 large tents and 21 small tents.
You better hope none of them come down.
You better hope. It's just really hard to fathom. Like you said, 6 million people. How do you get that many people in the city of Munich? And then how do you get that many people into a field? It's crazy.
I don't think they're all there at the same time.
No, you're right. But still.
Yeah. No,
even a portion of that is to imagine is unfathomable.
Yeah.
I guess it is fathomable to some people who have been there.
Yeah.
Not to me. I've never been there. But anyway, moving on. Oktoberfest was canceled during both World Wars, though in the years prior to World War II, the Nazi flag was flown at the festival instead of the Bavarian flag. So that's a little fun fact for you.
Boo.
Yeah. But by the 1950s, the festival was back in its original form. The Bavarian flag was flying. And this was when Thomas Wimmer broke the cask of beer with 19 blows. So just so you know. Okay?
Okay.
And in 1960 was the last year for horses to be raced at the festival. So they canceled that too. Originally, Oktoberfest was just about the horses and beers. Okay? And now they're like, no more horses, no more plants. And what was the other thing they said no more to? No more Haida family.
Well, I feel like it's probably, I don't think horses should be around that many drunk people.
No, you're entirely right. They really shouldn't be. It's kind of bonkers to think that they were still racing horses
Yeah.
in the 60s. Ay. This is a sad fact, but in September 26, 1980, a bomb exploded in a bathroom at the front of the festival grounds, killing 13 people and wounding over 200 more.
Wow.
It's sad. I didn't look too much into it because I didn't really want to be super morbid, but apparently the man who perpetrated the attack was a right-wing extremist, seemingly working alone. You can Google it if you're interested in that kind of stuff. I didn't really want to talk about it. But I felt like I needed to say something. And then in 2010 was the 200th anniversary of the festival, and they held a commemorative horse race in traditional garb to commemorate it. So that's kind of fun, actually. But let's move on and talk about the most important part of the festival, the beer. Okay?
Yes.
Oktoberfest beer comes from 6 distinct Munich breweries and is served in 14 large tents and 21 small tents throughout the festival. The breweries are as follows: Augustiner Brau, Hacker Schorbrau, Lowenbrau, Paulaner Brau, Spattenbrau, and Hofbrauhaus. So those are the 6 breweries you can get beers from at the festival. The rules of Oktoberfest state that the beers must be from breweries within Munich to maintain that Oktoberfest stays strictly a Munich festival. The 6 breweries I just mentioned must follow what is called the Edict of Purity, and in German, it is called the Reinheitsgebot. Okay, so the Reinheitsgebot, also known as the Edict of Purity, was signed in 1516, and it specified that the production of beer throughout Bavaria was strictly bound to using 3 ingredients: barley, hops, and water. So these 6 breweries that you're drinking beers from have to follow this Edict of Purity to be able to be sold at the festival.
That's cool.
It's kind of interesting, right? The quintessential beer served at Oktoberfest, served by all the breweries, their own little ingredients and little different flavors that they have, right, is known as Marzin, which translates roughly to spring beer. Marzin is brewed in March, put into casks for the summer, and aged in time for the fall celebrations. Kind of cool. The cuisine at Oktoberfest is also really important. So people don't just go for the beer. They also go to eat traditional Bavarian food. The traditional dishes are both very simple and also very substantial. So they want to fill you up as well. I mean, if you're drinking beer all day, like, you need to have carbs, you need to be eating, you need to be drinking water. Yeah. So that's what they're doing, right? Bavarian cuisine tends to favor fried foods and the use... Sorry, I was just getting like a FaceTime call because I'm kind of popular. Anyway, Bavarian cuisines tend to favor fried foods, and they use lards and other fats within the preparation. Foods you might find at tents in Oktoberfest are the Brezel, which is a pretzel, but I dream about pretzels. I dream about them. So Grace and I went to Oktoberfest in Chicago. What was it, in 2019?
I feel like that was one of the last... No, it was warm out. So yeah, it must have been in like the summer of 2019. Seems so long ago. But we had pretzels there and they were so good.
I dream of pretzels, and I actually could make pretzels, but it's just not... You know, I grew up in South Jersey, Philly area, and like Philly pretzels, like we just had shops on the street for soft pretzels. Like, be like, I'm going to go run and get soft pretzels. We had pretzel day at school. Like, a lady... You know, PTA would come by with like a cart and be like, how many pretzels do you want? It was like $5 for like a bag of pretzels. Those are the best days of my life. You can't find a frickin' pretzel unless you go to the mall and eat an Annie Ann's thing out here in the Midwest. Yeah. Where do I find a pretzel out here? I got to make it myself.
I'm sure you could find something authentic.
I got to find something. Anyway, it's fine. So yeah, you got pretzels. You also got Weisswurst, which are white sausages. It's a traditional Bavarian sausage made with minced veal and pork. It's usually flavored with parsley, lemon, mace, onions, ginger, and cardamom. They look offensive to me. They're just like, I'm sorry, there's something about the look of a white sausage that really just stresses me out. I don't know. It's weird.
It's fair.
And then we got, you might eat Maltoschen, which translates roughly to mouth bags. I hate it. But it has nothing to do with the mouth except that you eat it. It is essentially like a ravioli. It's stuffed pasta. You stuff it with minced meat, smoked meat, spinach, breadcrumbs, onions, and it's flavored with various spices and herbs. So that does not sound bad at all.
No, sounds delish. I could go for a mouth bag right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would eat a mouth bag too if it was stuffed like that. Then you got Spatzle. Spatzle is made from pasta with fresh eggs. You got Kuchel. It's like a light yeast dough that you kind of fry on both sides, and you top it with powdered sugar and a little bit of cinnamon. Who doesn't like fried dough? I mean, you need fried dough at a festival, right? And you can also eat Schweinshax, which is roasted German pork knuckle. I don't know what pork knuckle is, but it's basically, it just looks like crispy pork. That's kind of
like pork rinds. Chicharrones.
Ooh, actually, I do like the way pork tastes in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And of course, we can't talk about Oktoberfest without talking about the costumes. The traditional costumes are categorized as Trachten, which are traditional Bavarian costumes inspired by peasant or farmer clothing, like workers' clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of Trachten you'll see at Oktoberfest are the Dirndl and the lederhosen. So Dirndl is the female version of the Trachten, and that is like when you have a blouse with like a bodice that you tie tightly. The lower
and
part,
your boobies are out.
and your boobies are big and out, and you've got your big, blonde wig on with your braids. The bottom part is a skirt with an apron, and you always wear white hose, like with this, and usually it just comes like to the knee. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And lederhosen is the male form of the Trachten. It is a knee-length leather breech outfit. Anything below the knee is actually called something else. It is not lederhosen. But lederhosen is traditional for Oktoberfest. So you wear your lederhosen, which come to the knee. And then you wear those braces, which are the, what do we call them?
Suspenders?
Suspenders, right? In German, it's called Hosentrager. And they're all bright and colorful. They have like a bunch of different patterns and stitches and traditional like colors and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wear a hat. And the hat is called a Trachtenhut. And it is a felt alpine style hat. And men also must wear white hose with their costume. Gotta wear your white hose. General information for anybody who's thinking about going to Oktoberfest in the years to come. Entrance to Oktoberfest and Theresienwiesen is entirely free. It's entirely free. And you only have to pay for what you consume. Speaking of what you consume, beer, a traditional beer, first of all, it comes in liter sizes. You can't get anything smaller than that. A liter of beer costs approximately €9.50, which is incredibly well priced, I think, for a festival. And for a liter of beer, are you kidding me? I love that. Beer halls open at 9 a.m. on the dot, and beer is immediately served. Immediately. The halls close at 11 p.m. every night, and beer stops being served at 10:30 p.m.
Kind of an early night. I guess it's an early start, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Right. I also read that there is a curfew for sound as well. Like music gets turned down to like a certain decibel after a certain time to like respect like the people that live in the area, because I guess people still live in the city of Munich that don't like go to Oktoberfest. Imagine living in Munich and like having to deal with all the tourists for Oktoberfest.
That's like here in Lollapalooza. That's like times 20.
I know. But the best thing about Lollapalooza is that it happens in a very specific location in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live in a far away enough neighborhood like I do, you can pretend that Lollapalooza is not even happening. Although if you go to Lollapalooza, which is fun, then you gotta deal with all the train stuff, and you gotta deal with figuring out where the entrance is, and everybody's high, which is not a problem, but it's just like you gotta be on guard.
I feel you.
So that's what I have to say about Oktoberfest.
I want to go to Oktoberfest, even though I'm not a big beer drinker, but I do love pretzels and sausages, so I feel like I would still enjoy myself.
They also have wine tents as well, and it is in the fall, so I feel like drinking wine is fine. But it's like one of those things, like, I wouldn't want to drink wine at, like, Lollapalooza, unless it was, like, a chilled rosé, you know?
Unless we were in, like, VIP.
One day, Grace, we'll be in VIP. Just to do it.
I got the hookup. I mean, I got free tickets last time.
I
just
know.
have to sweeten the deal a bit.
Right. Can we get this a little bit better, please?
My topic comes from the Tuesday, May 18th New York Times by Margaret Segal, and it is 34 Cross, brand of school supplies known for its dazzling rainbow designs.
Is this Lisa Frank?
Yes, it is.
I totally missed this in the puzzle.
I think Rex was tweeting about it a couple times, but when I saw that, I was like, filed that away. I was like, that could maybe be interesting, and it is interesting. So,
oh, okay. Lisa Frank is kind of coming back in style too, because like the whole like 90s Y2K vibe.
Yes, But I feel like it could be coming more back in style, but it's not.
Okay.
And I guess we'll figure out why.
Okay.
So if you don't know Lisa Frank, she was around in the 90s. It's a company that makes mostly school supplies, stationery, stickers, and it's like vibrant, rainbow colored, featuring colorful leopards, purple spotted seals. It's very cutesy, unicorns, rainbows, butterflies, all that type of fun stuff.
I feel like the folders from Lisa Frank had like the velvety,
Did they?
Like you could color in the folders and they had like a velvet, like a black velvet border around the animals that you were coloring in. It could be misremembering.
I don't think I had that one, but that does sound like it'd be fun. I'm shocked that she would give up the control over coloring it in.
True.
But yeah, it was basically huge in the 90s and early 2000s. That was like the big boom. But the mysterious thing about it is even before, like now, the company is having a slight resurgence, but it did basically like fade into obscurity. The creator herself, Lisa Frank, has always kept a very low profile. She's only done 2 public interviews, and she barely has any photos of herself released, and she just enjoys her life of anonymity, even though I feel like people wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, she gave an interview saying that she knows how Michael Jackson feels, so.
Oh, okay.
Do with that what you may.
Okay, Lisa Frank. I mean, I'm not a celebrity, so I don't know, but I feel like to put Lisa Frank and Michael Jackson on the same pedestal is like very incongruous. Like, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah. Well, what if I told you that the story of Lisa Frank wasn't always rainbows and butterflies?
Grace, I would ask you to tell me more.
Well, it's in fact filled with infidelity, drugs, poor working conditions, and maybe even a hint of cultural appropriation in the very beginning.
Am I surprised? No. I am intrigued, though.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start with Lisa Frank. She comes from a wealthy family, and I mean a really wealthy family. She grew up in Bloomfield Hills, Detroit, which is repeatedly ranked as one of the most richest cities in the United States, in the world. Her dad ran the extremely successful Detroit Aluminum and Brass. They were the only company in the U.S. to make engine bearings for the tanks used in World War II. So it was extremely successful. Rich. Well, okay, so Lisa Frank always loved art and creativity growing up, and her parents always fostered her interest. Her dad himself was an art collector, and her mom made pottery at home. They had a kiln in their home, which would be fun to have. But she loved coloring books as a kid. She said her parents would just like keep giving her coloring books to, keep her busy, and she would color in the entire page.
It's insane.
Yeah. When she was 12, her parents got her a loom and she started weaving. She said in an interview, quote, "I love to read. I loved to artwork. I love to do anything girly." So she's a self-proclaimed girly girl.
Okay.
And I do like that about her, that, people may have laughed, like, you're going to make money selling pictures of golden retrievers, and look at her now. So Frank attended the same elite preparatory school as Mitt and Ann Romney, fun fact.
Okay.
In an art show her senior year of high school, she earned $3,000 selling her work, and that was in the 70s, so it's a lot of money now, it's a lot of money then. But her entrepreneurial skills really ramped up in college, so she went to University of Arizona, and she started buying handmade pottery and jewelry from local Native American artists and then selling them for a huge markup back in Detroit. That's where I was like, that seems kind of sketch.
Aye.
She became really well known for this, and eventually she said she had the Native American artists making special jewelry for her, so she would tell them, like, oh, make teddy bears, make unicorns, and they would, and then she would go sell it up for a huge markup.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But finally, at the age of 20, she stopped using their art and she started to create her own original jewelry designs. It was a plastic jewelry line called Sticky Fingers that ended up being picked up by Neiman Marcus and Bloomingdale's, and the jewelry largely consisted of bracelets made by gluing mini plastic fruits as little, like, charms. It's basically a charm bracelet of plastic fruits.
Okay.
But she eventually moved on to stickers and paintings, or, like, artwork more reminiscent of what we associate with Lisa Frank today. In an interview, she told the Daily Mail about this time, quote, "I got the rights for Betty Boop and Popeye and Mighty Mouse from King Features, and I would put, like, Betty Boop on a unicorn." That's the kind of stuff she was doing. In 1979, at the age of 25, she changed the company name to Lisa Frank Inc., and she made a $1 million order from Spencer's Gifts. Or she got her a $1 million order from Spencer's Gifts. That was like the beginning of the huge boom.
Okay.
The first official Lisa Frank Inc. art piece, which would be used as the first official logo, was a gumball machine based on an antique gumball machine her father had given her as a gift. And then she said people just associated her with the gumball machine, so people would always give them to her as gifts. So she says she has like a ton of gumball machines now for no reason.
Okay, I'll have one.
And originally all the art was done by hand using markers, acrylics, and airbrushing. And it wasn't until the late 80s that they completely moved over to using computers because they realized they could still get that airbrush effect digitally.
Okay.
The three main players when it came to the artistic vision of Lisa Frank were Rondi Coots, Lisa Frank, and Lisa's husband, James Green. He will come up later.
Okay.
But multiple artists would work on each art piece, and Lisa had a fanatical attention to detail. It took hundreds of hours just for one illustration.
Okay.
So a lot of detail went into these, into your Trapper Keepers. Lisa's two favorite characters, all the animals have names and like a backstory and stuff. So Lisa's two favorite characters are the rainbow print leopard and tiger cubs named Hunter and Forrest, who she says are based after her two sons. So yes, her sons' names are Hunter and Forrest, and their last name is Green, so their names are Hunter Green and Forrest Green, which I kind of love.
Actually, though, that is such a power move, and I'm changing my last name to Green immediately to be able to do that. I refuse to. I will birth twins now.
And if they had kids, Kelly Green, a girl, I mean.
Oh, do not give me any ideas.
Well, what I don't understand is the characters, she says that they're based off her sons, but the characters were created before her sons were born. So it's like, actually, are your sons based off these characters? I don't know. She claims that the characters really have the same personality.
Sounds like she's making a story after the fact, you know? Like embellishing for the autobiography.
She's an artiste. But a lot of the characters are named after real people or animals. For example, Casey and Camus are the golden retrievers, and they're named after Lisa's first golden retrievers.
Okay.
Marky is a unicorn that lives in the clouds, aka Airfluff Island, and he is based after a friend who died from a heart attack at a very young age.
Oh, sad.
The character that Lisa most identifies with is Persilla, which is the white cat who wears the tiara, and she has Lisa's signature jewelry. So that's like...
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm getting a Lisa vibe now.
Yeah. Lisa Frank Ink even has their own ink formula that makes all the colors look brighter, and the mixture of the ink is a fiercely guarded secret.
Let's figure it out. Let's crack the code.
And all of this takes place in Lisa Frank Inc. headquarters in Tucson, Arizona, because remember she went to school at University of Arizona. It's a small building, but you can't miss it. The outer walls are covered with huge music notes, hearts, stars, and there's oversized, colorful animal statues sprinkled around the property. So there's like a giant unicorn statue that is missing a horn in the front of the property.
We should go to Tucson and take pictures. What do you think? First Tucson, then we'll fly out of Tucson to Bavaria.
And then to the Himalayas, to Nepal.
Yes, to find the Yeti. Yeah, okay. I'm liking this itinerary.
But don't be fooled by the building's colorful exterior, okay? Because the stories from the inside are dark. So most of this comes from an article on Jezebel.com called The Technicolor Rise and Fall of Lisa Frank by Tracy Egan Morrissey. Lisa Frank, like the company, is notorious in Tucson as the world's worst employer. A Tucson local said, quote, "I don't know if it's possible to really communicate how bad the reputation was in town. Every person who ever worked there seemed to have a case of PTSD from it." Basically, there was a strong emphasis on productivity, but nothing to foster a creative environment. Apparently, the office was a place of silence, and coworkers were not allowed to talk to each other.
What?
Management secretly and illegally recorded phone calls. Every 2 weeks, an inter-office publication called Frankly Speaking informed the employees how to behave and specifically how to interact with and address the CEO, James Green. Or was it? Yeah, James Green, Lisa's husband. This is an excerpt from a column in Frankly Speaking about how to treat your boss. Quote, "Respect the boss's time. If you need 30 minutes, don't take 90. In fact, take 20. Don't tread on his turf. At least don't do it without permission. And follow up quickly. Bosses don't pull out a stopwatch when they give you a command, but the clock is ticking." Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rich people are annoying.
Memos with updated rules and restrictions were constantly circulating. No visitors were allowed, even family members. Like, how are you going to make your office be like rainbow colored, all these animals everywhere, and then not allow people to bring their kid, like the people who work there. They can't even bring their kids.
That's bonkers.
Mm-hmm. The penalty from any violations ranged from verbal abuse to name calling to screaming to automatic termination to even weirder things. Okay, for example, one time after discovering that someone left the office 10 minutes early, Green instructed the warehouse manager to put chains and padlocks on all the downstairs doors so that, quote, the staff can't escape. But leaving the job wasn't so simple either. Multiple public records of civil judgments entered against Lisa Frank Inc. show that the company often failed to give promised severance packages, fought unemployment benefits, and former employees had to sue for their final paychecks or sales commissions.
Oh my God.
Local contractors and builders filed multiple lawsuits claiming they hadn't been paid for $4 million worth of work on the building.
Oh,
the turnover rate was extremely high. In 1 year, almost a third of the staff would be turned over. Between February 2003 and December 2004, over 80 people quit without notice because of how poorly they had been treated. So this is some quotes from former employees. Quote, I personally heard Lisa Frank scream at sales managers and threaten their lives if they fucked up a presentation. Another quote, every day was so stressful, and hearing Lisa's voice downstairs on a speakerphone made my blood run cold. I had many instances where she abused me verbally. But most employees did acknowledge that the root of the problem was CEO James Green. So Green started as an illustrator and eventually fell into a romantic relationship with Lisa Frank, and in the height of Lisa Frank's popularity, Lisa turned over all the day-to-day operations to Green to focus on raising their children. So he ran the show basically for the next 10 years, and not in a good way. Lisa Frank wasn't even in the office very much at this point. In 2005, 16 people who had worked for or with Lisa Frank Inc. in various capacities submitted sworn affidavits in a lawsuit brought against Green, attesting to his management style. So this is some of the stuff that came up in the lawsuit. They said he was prone to fits of rage. He would have loud, cursing outbursts where he would berate people, including his wife. Some witnessed him throwing chairs and other objects in the office. He wouldn't learn people's names and instead make up nicknames based on how they looked. That's like Michael Scott, but a million times worse.
Oh my God.
He was described as having a Napoleon complex since he was kind of short and people weren't allowed to wear heels around him. He said it's because they couldn't keep up with him walking, but people know the real reason.
Of course.
But James didn't act totally alone. He had a right-hand woman, Rhonda Rowlett, who was the company's vice president, and she would basically enforce all of his oppressive rules, and it's widely believed that they had an affair, and they were also really into cocaine.
Okay.
So former employees recount them both coming into the office, sweaty, pacing, paranoid, sometimes not even able to stand up straight. And in 2005, Lisa filed for divorce on the basis of this affair. So Lisa Frank had confided in her friend that she was frightened of Green and had been a victim of his verbal abuse for years. So this makes me I think Lisa obviously made mistakes too, but I also feel like she was, roped into this abusive relationship that was tied into her company. And throughout the divorce, Lisa started taking a more active role in the company, and Green tried undermining her and telling employees that they had to pick a side, that he was going to split up and start a new company. So like they brought their divorce basically to the office and were like involving the employees in it.
My God.
But finally, Lisa was able to get Green and Rhonda Rowlett out of the company, and she once again became the CEO of Lisa Frank.
Okay.
But by this time it was 2005, and their relevance had dwindled a little bit, but Lisa had plans for the company. She wanted to do a theme park, she wanted a clothing line, she wanted a TV show, but sadly most of her time was spent in litigation with both Green and Rowlett.
Ugh.
Yeah. Today, Lisa Frank headquarters only has 6 employees.
Wow.
They did have a collaboration with Urban Outfitters a couple of years ago that did really well. Urban agreed to sell any of their leftover vintage school supplies, and it sold out. But they haven't talked about releasing anything else. And Lisa Frank has had a few resurgences. I have a Lisa Frank SpongeBob collab that Hot Topic released like a couple of years ago.
It's amazing.
Yes. But a former employee suspects that the reason Lisa Frank Inc. can't maintain business relationships with people is because they are very unfriendly and hard to work with. So,
Yeah.
Will they ever make a true comeback, or will they be stuck in like 90s nostalgia forever? I think if they had like a real business person, I think Lisa Frank is, was really rich and had a lot of help from her parents and is obviously very talented and creative, but I don't necessarily think she knows how to have employees and run a business.
Right.
I think if maybe they had someone else that would do, people would love Lisa Frank now.
Are you kidding? Yeah. I would buy so much Lisa Frank if there was like a clothing line or something.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and then if you're wondering whatever happened to her ex-husband.
Please.
He converted to Christianity, and he sells religious-based stationery and t-shirt designs on his website, jameschristianman.com, where he also shares his poetry, photography, and sculptures. And I took a look, and the clothing, the designs, it is nothing compared to Lisa Frank. So.
Oh my God. God, I wish I was crazy, because then I would just like go to the contact form and just send like crazy weird hate mail to him for fun. If I was in high school.
Nothing's stopping you from doing that.
I know. Except the fact that I'm like almost 30 years old. Like I just don't think I can bring myself to do it. But if I somehow got, warped back into time, like and I was like 18, I would definitely do it, because why not? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. I feel bad for Lisa being in an abusive relationship, but it definitely seems like she doesn't have any idea how to run a business, that like maybe she has difficulty like letting go of control, especially after having let control and let her husband basically subsume the entire company and drag it to the ground. But like there's potential there. Like, so someone needs to get in there and be like, hey, like let's revitalize this. Like, hello. Like, does Lisa Frank have a TikTok? Like, what's the social media manager situation?
So her son runs her Instagram page.
Okay.
Also, this article that I was reading was from like 2019, I think. So maybe she's done more stuff than then. But yes, her son Hunter, I believe, runs the Instagram page. Okay. So she is on Instagram. They're still like designing things, for their stationery, but definitely not as big as it used to be. I think it has potential. And in Lisa's defense, in the article, a previous employee said they had run into her like after they had stopped working there, and she was like, hi, I used to work with you, do you remember me? And Lisa said like yes, and Lisa admitted, she's like, I know I'm not a very good employer. So at least she's somewhat self-aware. I don't know the extent to how she was like abusing these people and verbally berating them.
God, that's insane though. That took a wild turn that I was not anticipating.
I know, for how like cutesy it is. It's just this dark, like, cocaine. That explains, I guess, some of the
mania. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, it explains the designs. It just explains, like, I can imagine this, like, short. I have no idea what this James Green guy looks like, but I just imagine him short, sweating, because first of all, it's Arizona. Second of all, he's probably got a suit on, and it's really tight around the neck, and he's just, like, sweating, and he's got, like, a really tight curl. I think he's got, like, a tight curl. And he's just, like, screaming and like listing to the right as he's like high off cocaine.
Yeah. He's like, make these otters green.
Take off your goddamn heels, Susan. Yeah.
Anyways, that's Lisa Frank for you. That's all I got.
Frankly, I'm loving this. Amazing. Wow. What a ride. So we've got beer and unicorns and like bright colors and cocaine this week for you. I hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear if you have any Lisa Frank in your own homes that you're willing to part with. Vintage Lisa Frank. I will take it off your hands. Of course, I'm not paying you, so please just donate it to me. If you have any of that, please come over to social media and let us know. Grace, where can they contact us?
You can find us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Oh, yes, you can. And Instagram at The Good Evening Girls. I cannot wait to show pictures of Lisa Frank this week. It's going to be great.
Yes. Maybe I'll post a picture of my SpongeBob shirt.
That's a great idea. Lisa Frank is going to take over the Instagram account. This is now a Lisa Frank podcast. We will be doing an expose on her two sons. Anyway.
Well, that's all we got for you, I guess.
That's it. That's it and that's all. Thanks for listening. We are The Good Evening Girls. You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword. Thanks for stopping by.
Have a great one.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.